listen, fuckhead. You can do whatever you want to do. You can put me on mute. You can turn the goddamn channel for all I care. What the fuck are you doing? And you're listening to us now. So obviously you didn't hit the fucking mute switch tonight, asshole.
Welcome back to the Royal Grumble. I've got Daryl.
Hello.
I've got Dan.
All right.
We're on Podbean now. We crashed our previous host, so royalgrumble.com/Podbean. No, that's absolutely wrong. royalgrumble.podbean.com is where you'll find us now.
Great start to that.
Oh, all right. Okay, having a go on that.
Someone's hard.
Oh, we've got. Obviously, you can always find us at facebook.com/royalgrumble. We've got a Twitter at twitter.com/royalgrumblepod. And we're on iTunes now, I believe.
Yep. Subscribe.
As of subscribe to us on iTunes.
Welcome to the big leagues, boys. We've made it.
Welcome to the big leagues. And if you want to get in touch with us, obviously you can send us an email at royalgrumblepod@gmail.com. We're not a review show. We're not a news show. So let's do what we always do and talk about some news anyway.
Yes.
Yeah. Chyna died.
Mental, innit?
Well, yeah. She was 46, I believe. Yep. Lots of tributes coming out on Twitter today, including a lot of ones from WWE officially, which I think probably surprised some people. It surprised me, certainly, because the first one I saw making a tribute was Stephanie McMahon.
Yeah, I thought there might have been one just from WWE account. I didn't expect them all. I thought they'd be on media lockdown and be like, don't do it because we don't want people Googling Chyna.
They usually are, like, especially after the whole thing with the Austin podcast where Triple H was talking about her. But yeah, there's been all sorts of tributes, haven't there?
Well, I can read straight from the WWE page their tribute. They say, a physically striking and talented performer, Chyna was a true sports entertainment pioneer. Not only was the superstar dubbed the ninth wonder of the world, a founding member of the groundbreaking faction D-Generation X, but she also holds the distinction of being the first woman to enter the Royal Rumble match and the first and only woman to win the Intercontinental Championship. And then it follows on with the tweet from Stephanie McMahon saying that she's a pioneer of our industry and she'll be missed.
I think when I started watching wrestling was like sort of 2001 time. So by that time, she'd actually started competing in the women's division. So I sort of missed Chyna as a kind of a high level competitor. But I mean, from what I gather and from what I've seen since, she was a really big deal at one point. Like she was a really genuinely quite a big star in a time of the business where there was a lot of interest in wrestling.
Yeah, 99 was when she hit a big peak. Before that, she was introduced into D-Generation X as Triple H's bodyguard when he was still Hunter Helmsley. The whole gimmick with that was that she was a physically intimidating woman and none of the guys could actually hit her back, but she could ragdoll most people.
She was the straight man as well, wasn't she? For a comedy segment, she'd just stand there.
As DX progressed, she became the straight man to their gimmick. And then as things progressed, she became a single star in her own right and became the first women's Intercontinental Champion, as the WWE page said. Had a quite infamous match with Jeff Jarrett, which is why he's not allowed back in the company, where he asked for more money. But that was at a time where like she was on top of the world. The whole thing doing Playboy was a huge issue. I can't remember whether that or the Sable issue was the biggest seller. But yeah, 99 was her big peak. After that, she went back into the women's division and sort of after that left the WWE. And it was after them when things seemed to go a little downhill. It's quite tragic, really.
Well, I mean, that was the sad thing about it, was I don't think anyone would have been particularly surprised upon hearing this. Like, I certainly, it was sad to read, but I certainly wasn't shocked when I found out. And I think that probably goes for a lot of people.
Yeah, but I think she was fucked before she came into wrestling. Because, like, listen, Graham's just turned his head because he's worried. But, like, this is like...
I'm not worried. No, I'm just.
I think he is worried though because
I'm not worried. No, I don't want to provoke the wrong sort of reaction from you. So
because she's in her autobiography she talks about, and I've read it like ages ago, so I'm not going to say exactly what happened because I can't remember. But she had some bad upbringing. I don't know if like her dad beat her up or her dad like left the home and she was. Have you read a book?
I've not read it, but Dave Meltzer on today's Wrestling Observer Radio talked about it quite a bit. She had a bad upbringing involving her dad. And then after that, it was the heavy drug use that was the big issue. And he says that she was like the typical user where it was everyone else's, like she didn't have a problem. It was the problem with everyone else.
Yeah, but what my point what I was saying is that like she came into the business already kind of like messed up.
Yeah.
Or like she had really bad experience, and then sort of like the business kind of rescued her in a way, because like she was obviously on steroids. Like it's not
I don't think there's
any bones
anything
about that. Like,
yeah.
or she was on some kind of performance enhancing drug. We might, yeah,
They were doing something.
yeah. But other than that, she seemed okay. Like she obviously, like we just spoke about, a career from like 97-ish to like 2001 when she left WWE. Like she was on top of the world for a lot of that, because like she came in, like you said, Triple H's bodyguard, associated with Shawn Michaels, probably the top, either the top or the top, one of the top 2 stars in the company. So like she was like main event at that point, if you can argue.
Yeah.
And then she was doing this stuff with Jericho, who was a top star.
Yeah.
Feuding with Jarrett, which Jarrett's not a top star, but she won the Intercontinental belt, which is a big deal. With Eddie Guerrero, which we didn't talk about, that was good.
A lot of people say that was really good. Now, I think a lot of that could be attributed to the fact that so many people say that 2000 was like a classic era for WWE. I don't know a lot about it, but a lot of people say that was, still a very engaging part of the show.
I believe it was the first time you really got to see Eddie Guerrero's like some personality from him.
Yeah.
With the whole Mamacita thing where he was trying to woo her.
So then you've got that, and I just think that at that point in her life, she was like a really good role model for women, or for girls at least, because like I know at the time my sister were watching wrestling, and like all the other women are doing chocolate pudding matches, bra and panties matches,
that sort of stuff.
And maybe she did a bra and panties match. She might have done. Someone might say, "Oh, well, she did it on this day or whatever." I don't know, but you don't really associate that with her. Like with Sable, you associate it with like getting her hands painted and putting them over her boobs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like Sonny, like doing the photo shoots and stuff like that. And I know like Chyna did Playboy, but you don't necessarily associate that with her in a wrestling career. You look at the times when she won the men's belts, she entered the Royal Rumble, that kind of thing. And I think she was important as well, because they gave her the title, the 9th Wonder of the World. Now, for those that are less educated than us, there's not actually 8 wonders in the world.
No.
Like obviously Andre the Giant was...
Andre was the 8th.
Yeah, and right, you don't know how much of a big deal Andre is, listeners. They made a statue out of him, and they have a match that's dedicated to him every year at WrestleMania now. So like, they gave Chyna the 9th Wonder of the World. So like, they obviously thought she was a big deal at the time.
Yeah.
So like, whatever she's done later on in her career, outside of wrestling, she was obviously a big deal in wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ultimately, it's a very sad story. Like, I think we don't need to go into specific details of what happened after she left WWE. Obviously, there's been so many issues. She's, found herself doing different things, and it goes without saying that that's caused issues within the company as well. Especially like when Triple H has been asked about it, specifically on the Stone Cold podcast. And there's questions whether or not she could go into the Hall of Fame.
I don't think she should.
I definitely didn't think she would when that sort of came about, and I think I agreed with the philosophy of it. I know some people don't agree. I can understand both sides of it. I think there's a higher chance now, just because of the way they've sort of been acting today. Obviously not today, but like the way that, just because of the way that they've been acting, obviously post, after her dying. So I'm not going to say one way or another whether I think she should, whether I think she shouldn't, but I think the sad truth is that there's probably a higher chance that she will now that she's actually gone, than there would have been when she was still around.
Well, I'm not going to be petitioning against her being inducted if they do announce it, but I don't think she should. Like, I think that the stuff that she's done outside of wrestling kind of negates the stuff she did in wrestling and leaves a bad image. I'm not getting on my high horse about people doing porn, because do what you want, it's your life. But I just think that from WWE's corporate perspective, and from setting a role model, they've got this women's division and they're doing the Divas Revolution or whatever they're calling that now. I don't think you can say that you're empowering women with what China's done. I don't know, like that's just me.
I get what you mean. I think there's definitely two sides to the coin. I would accept any argument one way or another. I wouldn't be, like you say, I wouldn't be petitioning against it if she was to be nominated, but at the same time I will completely understand if she never is.
Yeah, it's a troubling area because you could compare it to a lot of other people in the Hall of Fame who've got their own issues, but she did have a huge impact in the short time she was in the WWE, but the issue since is what she's become more infamous for now, and it just adds to the tragedy of all this, really.
Yeah, I think ultimately it's just a very sad story, and like it's just something that you've got to accept, and possibly that's a part of who she's going to be, how she's going to be remembered. But I am pleased that at least in this sort of circumstance, when she obviously has passed on, that people are being respectful, and that WWE are actually showing a modicum of respect in terms of remembering who she was to them, and I'm pleased about that. Ultimately, it's a sad story, and I think all you can do is, mourn respectfully and move on. Really. Speaking of moving on, we have to move on to Daryl, because Daryl, you've got the ability of the curse, haven't you?
Why? What have I done now?
Well, in our last show, you spent a good 5 minutes ripping on Konnor from the Ascension.
Yeah, because he's a mess. Ratitude, did
well,
face.
Sure enough, it was proved that he's a mess. He's been suspended for 60 days.
Yeah, who's next? Who's next? Come at me. Come at me at NXT shithouses.
I'll tell you who's next, because it was at the same time. Adam Rose has also been suspended.
Oh.
He's not only gone from the roster, been suspended, but he has made a little statement on Twitter. Well, it's not a little statement on Twitter, because if it was a little statement on Twitter, it'd be in 140 characters. But Adam Rose being I don't even know what to make of this statement.
Yeah.
Do you think he just wants sacking? Do you want to read the statement?
Yeah, I'll read it. I'll just point out Konnor and Adam Rose both, it's on their second violation, so that's a 60-day suspension, I believe.
Yeah. Apparently, if they were in NXT at the time, they weren't announcing the suspensions.
Yeah.
But I would assume Adam Rose would have been Leo Kruger at the time anyway.
Yeah,
so
he
possibly.
was. And also Konnor was back in Deep South.
Jesus, that was ages ago.
It was a long time
he's been
ago.
with company forever. But
Yeah,
can you blame him when he thought it was a good idea to say that he had a rat face? And he was like, oh yeah, why am I not on main roster, guys? Because you're eating cheese, Konnor.
Stop gnawing your leg.
So Adam Rose posted a statement on Twitter regarding his suspension. I'll read out the full thing. I was not going to respond to my suspension, but I feel I have to. I have two sons that will one day read the news about their daddy and a sister that died from complications related to a lifelong battle with heroin. So I feel the need and right to respond and let the truth be known. I'm pretty sure this response will meet nowhere near the publicity that my suspension did, and that this response is tantamount to career suicide. But I feel for my sons, my sister, and the rest of my family. You, the WWE Universe, have the right to know the truth of my suspension and what it was for. I will also quote my doctor in my response, as he was as shocked and appalled by the suspension. I can say right now I did not do anything knowingly wrong and was taking prescribed medication that my doctor and I followed all the correct protocol on. My actual response and doctor's response will be coming soon, but before you judge, know the facts. My family and I are still collecting ourselves from this blow. I have zero anger or animosity towards WWE, but feel the administrators over at WWE Wellness Policy were just simply not right in taking this action. But I feel facts are the facts, and my family and I will be the ones putting our lives back together after this mess. My response will be up soon, along with my doctor's. So that's not actually his statement.
No, he's just gone, I'm going to make a statement. Yeah, what's the point then?
Announcing an announcement.
Yeah.
One PW reference of the week. There you go.
I do not owe you money.
There's a sentence in there where he says, I don't think my response will be met with the same publicity as my suspension, and also it's career suicide. Those two things contradict each other, right? Because if it wasn't met with the same response, if it wasn't met with any publicity, it wouldn't be career suicide, would it? Because they wouldn't care.
There's a thing there where he talks about his sister's heroin addiction.
Heroin addiction.
I'm sure that's what he said.
Yeah, his sister died from heroin addiction.
And obviously that's sad, but no one's thinking. I can guarantee no one's thinking he's got suspended for heroin. Everyone's thinking he's either got suspended for weed or suspended for steroids.
Yeah,
that's pretty. Whether he has or not, that's what everyone will be thinking.
Yeah, I would have thought.
So why is he? Oh, sister heroin. That's sad, but don't don't bring that up.
It's not an excuse, is it?
No.
No.
I guess it's an attempt to clear his name.
But it's
With all
not, though,
the
is
things.
it? Because it's not.
But
It's not.
He's,
At all.
he's
He
obviously
said-
he's obviously popped for something that they're not happy about, and that's
Yeah.
why he's got suspended. And yeah, he might have a prescription, but I don't know how their policy works. If you've got a prescription, can you just take it?
No, there'll still be banned substances within
Oh,
that.
right. So
Yeah.
so you fucked it then, mate. Basically, if you've got something in your system that you shouldn't have, then fucking do one. Plus, you're Adam Rose, so like right. If you're John Cena and you pop, then Vince is pretty much just gonna be like, nah, whatever, fuck it. Because Randy Orton, I'm sure that he's earned his suspensions off again. So like he'd be back to 30 days because they don't want to fire him.
The Randy Orton suspensions are hilarious.
Yeah.
Like the number of times it's been, well, one of them didn't count.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this one didn't count.
He's had six
this one
months
didn't
good
count.
behaviour,
He's
so-
on 2 strikes though. We could sack him any time. Although, frankly, now they probably could sack him any time because, like, what's he going to go to TNA?
Don't call him fragile.
What?
Oh, see, that's a reference that I'm going to get, isn't it? He did a Brazilian TV interview, and
He
the
did a
interviewer-
Brazilian TV interview.
Oh.
It
shit.
became a really famous video
That must have been
because
the one Brazilian TV interview I didn't watch.
it became really famous because he got really angry with the presenter because he asked him about his constant injuries, and he said that why are you fragile? And Randy Orton threatened to knock his teeth down his throat and got in his face. While the presenter, awkwardly thinking it's some sort of angle, was like, yeah. While Randy Orton's wanting to tear him apart.
Remember when he threw a TV out the window in Britain and he got suspended for that, crashed his hotel room? But he ain't that back off. It's fine, don't worry.
Yeah, it's fine.
Don't worry. It's all right.
And his dad's the reason no one's allowed to bleed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else to say about Konnor, Daryl? Anyone else you want to curse for the future?
I don't know, like, you don't like Dolph Ziggler. Like, I could put a curse on him if you want.
Give it a go. Might as well.
Yeah.
I don't think he takes steroids.
Do you not?
No.
Well, I don't think any of them take steroids because that'd be slander, and
Yeah.
I'm not into that. I'm not about that life. I never slander anyone.
Okay.
No.
Interesting.
So so I'm not gonna.
You couldn't even keep a straight face for that one.
No, but I'm not gonna curse anyone this week. I think. Oh, we're not doing segments, but we could do the Papa Shango cursing segment where I cast a spell on someone. But this week we'll just leave it for this week because we've got a double dose of Konnor and Adam Rose.
Yeah. So that'll do us for now.
Yeah. What's Victor doing nowadays?
At a house show in Newcastle, he just became the new member of the Social Outcasts. I don't know whether it was one night deal or what, but
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, he took Adam Rose's place.
He's got a weird little face as well, and he's got really crap hair and a ponytail. Why they probably just put him in Adam Rose's tights and went, look, there's Adam Rose. Here he is. Do you want to speak, Adam Rose? No, you don't. No. It's Adam Rose. What do you mean? What, Victor? No, it's not.
Wait, who's saying what Victor? Because none of the audience are going, that's Victor. They don't know who he is. I didn't know what he was called. And he's
Google it.
the other one in the Ascension.
When I heard the news of suspension, I had to Google to make sure which one was which.
I always forget because I always thought when they I didn't watch the good series of NXT like Daryl did. But I always thought the little one was the one who looked more ratty. So like when I found out that it was actually the big one who was Ratitude, I was actually shocked.
Nah, it's definitely the big one. He has got a rat face.
Oh, little one's also got a bit of a rat face though, hasn't he?
Well,
anyway,
yeah.
They could repackage him.
Could. They won't.
Well,
Why would they bother?
Well, they've repackaged Lost Matadors, haven't they?
Yeah.
Why would you
that's a good
bother?
Yeah. Yeah, but they're like, I think they quite like them for some reason. There's something about like, probably partly because they're from an old wrestling family, and partly because the other problem is they don't have any Hispanic wrestlers, do they? Or the ones that they have are not stars.
Yeah, like Sin Cara.
Yeah.
Version 2.
Yeah, Sin Cara version 2.0, or Kalisto, who defended his United States title at WrestleMania.
He's a
in front of-
tiny little
in front
boy,
of
isn't
12
he?
people.
Yeah.
His Mattel figure is actual size.
Yeah. Because he's not a dwarf, but he is a dwarf, isn't he?
Oh dear. Do you want to put him in a WLC match?
I'd fucking love that. The last suspension was Hornswoggle, weren't it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Talking of dwarfs.
Is he back now, by the way?
His suspension is over, but
Obviously he's not back because why would they put him on TV?
he just hangs around catering, I think.
He probably does.
He has got the job, hasn't he?
Yeah, they can't put him back on TV though, can they?
No.
Because like now that they're so sort of corporate responsibility and stuff, how are they going to put him back on TV?
Just dancing about.
In what role? He's not going to be dancing about though. Who's
Firing t-shirt guns. He could do that.
Do you know what? Now I've said this, right? I guarantee you, on Raw, Hornswoggle, part of the Social Outcasts,
It'd be good, though.
dressed as Adam Rose. That'd be better. He'd be a perfect Social Outcast. Dan, you're looking at me funny. What?
I don't know.
Should we be saying that dwarves are social outcasts, though? Is that what you're saying, Graham? Are you being dwarfist?
Well, frankly, I think that I think putting Hornswoggle in a group with I was going to call him Axl Rose for a second there. Putting him in a group with Curtis Axel is offensive to Hornswoggle, so that should give you my.
Are you not a fan of the Axeman?
I'm not a fan of the Axeman, Curtis Axel.
Because the genesis of McGillicuddy is coming.
Could you imagine if they put him back to that gimmick? That'd be amazing. They're like, Curtis, it's not working out, mate. I need to.
I don't even think Curtis Axel's that fucked about wrestling anymore because he just wears shorts.
Yeah.
Like this is a visual reference, listener, but the shorts I've got on at the minute are pretty much the shorts that Curtis Axel wears.
It's like not even jorts.
They're just generic shorts from Primark.
Yeah.
And he's going bald. I'm not one to talk, but I'm not a wrestler.
No. Well, at least he wears a hat though.
He does.
Remember when he used to wear a do-rag? Do you remember? Actually, that's a point. That's something I wanted to bring up, and I'm going to put a lot of pressure on you now because I never mentioned it beforehand.
Okay.
You're going to the Sheffield House show.
I am.
So next time, review it.
Okay,
so,
that's
even
fine.
though you know how we're not a news show, we're not a review show.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to have to do a review of it. So.
I'm only going to buy a New Day shirt.
I know. That's literally what. Do you know? Apparently, I read a thing. New Day were the top sellers of merchandise at WrestleMania.
Yeah. Because what other merchandise are you going to buy?
Yeah, good point.
AJ Styles gloves. So you can do the hand sign.
In Texas, where it's like 90 degrees.
Yeah, it'd be a bad idea.
Pop some gloves on.
Well, I'm going to take that chance to smoothly segue into what we're talking about this week, which is...
You could have smoothly segued by saying we've talked about the 4 greatest stars in WWE, Heath Slater and the other social outcast that I can't name, and now we're going to talk about the New Japan 4.
Brilliant. You've ruined that segue. Cheers. Thanks. You literally talking about AJ Styles. Yeah, so don't worry about it. It's fine, mate.
Yeah. I'm only here to ruin the show.
I know. You're doing a good job. Top notch.
Thanks. This is great banter.
Oh, don't say that word.
It's not even funny in a sort of Alan Partridge ironic way. You've just ruined it. You've just ruined the show for everybody.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. So yeah, he is right. We are talking about the New Japan 4. So for those who are uninitiated, the New Japan 4 we are talking about is AJ Styles, Luke Gallows, Shinsuke Nakamura and Carl Anderson, who have all recently debuted in some form of WWE. Obviously, Shinsuke Nakamura started in NXT. He's had 2 matches on television so far. AJ Styles began at the Royal Rumble, and he is headed to a title shot at Payback. And Anderson and Gallows have been on a couple of episodes of Raw, and well, it made quite a big impact as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, they're a bit racist towards Samoans, aren't they? They kick fuck out of them.
Brilliant.
It's a great way to introduce them.
Fantastic. Dan, why don't you talk about... Because I think it's safe to say that Daryl and I are not experts on New Japan in any sort of way, shape or form. Like, I don't even know if I've watched any New Japan, which is a terrible admission on my part, but nonetheless. So I'm deferring to your knowledge here, Dan, really. Give us some background.
I'll give a brief... Nakamura's the biggest star out of the 4 to come from New Japan. He was a New Japan trainee. He won the IWGP Heavyweight Champion at an early age. He's had a really long career, about 10 years in New Japan, where he's won every major title. He's the guy who made the Intercontinental title as big as it was there.
The one that MVP won.
Yeah, the one that MVP won. When he took it on, it became a main event belt when they did a fan vote one year for the Tokyo Dome, saying which do you want as the main event, the heavyweight title or the Intercontinental title, and Nakamura won out on that one. Yeah, he's an absolutely huge star there.
So sorry, just to go back, just for the listeners and maybe for me a little bit. You're saying the Intercontinental belt, the New Japan one.
Yeah.
That's not the same as our Intercontinental belt, though, is it? Because ours is a bit shit.
Think about it back in like the early 90s or even like the mid 90s, where the Intercontinental title was kind of like the workhorse belt, whereas the heavyweight belt was just the big hosses. It's not quite like that in New Japan. They're almost on a par.
It's like the WWE title and World Heavyweight title.
Yeah, it's pretty much like that. So yeah, Nakamura was the champion there. AJ Styles, everyone knows him from TNA, NWA champion, TNA champion, had quite a long career in the US. He recently went over to New Japan about 2 years ago and instantly got over there, joined up with the Bullet Club, won the IWGP Heavyweight Championship on his first night, which is an absolutely huge deal. Was a constant main eventer during his time there, finishing up with a match against Nakamura that is... It's my match of the year still. I don't know if anything will come close to it this year. Carl Anderson is a long-time New Japan guy in multiple different tag teams. The most recent one with Luke Gallows as the Bullet Club. Carl Anderson's actually the founder member of the Bullet Club. The name comes from his nickname, the Machine Gun. And then Luke Gallows, you might remember him from the Straight Edge Society or as Festus back in WWE.
Frankly, I remember him as freaking Deacon.
Fake Kane.
Fake Kane.
Yeah, he had a lot of failed gimmicks in WWE.
As well? Was he something else apart? I feel like there's something in between. Maybe not.
I don't quite remember. But after his WWE run, he had a brief spell in TNA as part of Aces and Eights, and then
he was Doc, director of Chaos.
Doc Gallows, and then
is that really what they called him?
Yeah,
I knew he was called Doc, but I didn't realise that was why. That's awful. TNA is awful. No one should watch TNA. Should they, Dan? Carry on.
Well,
so,
unless you like the Aryan race, because I know we're talking about New Japan, but breaking news: the Blues Brothers, Jacob and Eli Blue, Skull and 8 Ball, they have got Hitler tattoos on them, so this isn't slander. They might end up buying TNA, but that's another podcast for another time.
That's Bobby Lashley's push fucked.
Yeah,
we will talk about that another time.
That's a whole
I think.
podcast on its own. Even though I actually, venomously opposed to putting TNA as the subject of our podcast, even I can understand that when you bring the Nazis in to take over TNA, it makes worthwhile listening.
But if they come in, we could have a feud between them and the British invasion.
Why?
Who do you think you're kidding, Mr. Hitler, innit?
Oh.
Yes.
Fair play.
Anyway.
Can we talk about New Japan, please?
Yeah, I'll finish off my little run. Luke Gallows went to New Japan after TNA and joined up with Carl Anderson, joining the Bullet Club as well. They were IWGP Tag Team Champions for a while. And eventually, at the beginning of this year, all four handed in their notice on the eve of the Tokyo Dome show, which is New Japan's biggest show of the year. And what is probably the biggest coup of talent since probably the WCW, WWE Monday Night War days.
Yeah, but they all did it on the same day because that's when the contracts ran out, isn't it?
Yeah, New Japan used to do 1-year contracts that would all renew at the end of January or around that time. They've changed that system now, thankfully. I think Okada's the first one to sign up to a new multi-year deal because he was another name that apparently WWE was interested in looking at. But they all came over and now they're in WWE, all debuted.
Yeah, it was a really big deal. As far as you're saying about the talent exodus from New Japan to the WWE, you're probably about right in terms of large. I mean, I know there's been some large exoduses in Japanese history, but it's usually like internally. So, for example, I think. Now, you can correct me if any of this is wrong. I know that Pro Wrestling Noah was founded because Misawa left. I want to say. All Japan?
Yeah, I believe it was All Japan.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
He left All Japan and took a heavy amount of talent with him after, I believe, no, I might be shaky on this, so I apologise if it's wrong. It's Giant Baba was the guy who was in charge of All Japan, and then he died. His wife took over, didn't hand over to Misawa. She either wanted to run it herself or moved it on to somebody odd, and Misawa took that as a sign of insult and went and formed Pro Wrestling Noah.
Yeah.
I know there was also a large exodus at one point, and again, shake on the details of who went where, with Kaiji Muto, the Great Muto.
Yeah, he went over to All Japan.
Right, okay, so he went from New Japan to All Japan, so that was probably, I'm guessing that was a really weak period. In fact, was that when New Japan were doing, oddly enough, like, they were bringing in people like Goldberg, and I think Chyna.
Yeah, Chyna made a few appearances for New Japan.
She did, because she actually had a match with Chono.
Yeah.
I know that much. But I think a lot of that was in response to the fact that they lost a lot of talent. But this is the first, to my knowledge, time that they're actually bringing a large group. I mean, 4 is, relatively not that large, but when you consider how important they were in terms of the promotion, a large group across from the East, albeit, the majority of which are American, to WWE. And that, I knew it was a big deal reading about it at the time, and I don't even follow New Japan very well.
Well, going on from what you were just saying with Nakamura, New Japan hit a low during the early 2000s, and Nakamura and Tanahashi were the two who really like picked up New Japan, and over the years has helped rebuild it into what's now the biggest company in Japan, and it can actually compete on a worldwide level in terms of like internet pay-per-views and things like that.
I think you could definitely call them the second biggest company in the world.
Yeah, I mean they can hold huge events at the Tokyo Dome, which is an absolutely massive venue, and Nakamura is one of the people responsible for that. That's why his leaving was such a huge deal.
Yeah, I mean it's really interesting because it's something that we've sort of not really experienced before. But I think we're going to talk about how we feel like in a similar vein to what we did with the NXT call-ups last time. We're going to talk about how we feel like they'll all cope. I think the best person to start with is probably AJ Styles, because I know, Daryl, you've probably got a lot to say about him, and I know I certainly do as well. Mint. He is brilliant, isn't he?
Yeah, bloody love AJ Styles.
I'd even go so far as to call him phenomenal.
Would you?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, I would really. He's alright.
He's alright, isn't he?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Like, we both watched him in TNA, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, like...
When TNA... Now.
Yeah, so like, probably 2004 is when I started watching TNA.
Right.
Like, I'd heard about TNA, like, when it first started, because I used to buy Power Slam magazine, and they had, like, reviews of the shows in there. But I think it was, like, the first, like, proper pay-per-view they did, like, the first 3-hour pay-per-view is when I started watching TNA. And I think that one of the first matches I can remember off the top of my head is Destination X 2000 and I want to say 4, but it might be 5.
Okay.
And it's AJ Styles and it's Christopher Daniels for X Division belt, and Christopher Daniels wins. But it's that was like a really good match. It was the first match that I saw, and I was like, why is this guy not in WWE? Like, referred to AJ Styles because Christopher Daniels is a bit of a skinny fuck, but like why is he not in WWE? And then like just from then, like I've just been like a massive fan of him. And like even through his like shitty period in TNA where they made him wear a crown and made him pretend he were married to Karen Angle and all the other things he did, like when he had
to wear a turkey suit.
Yeah, didn't he have a baby with someone?
Oh wow, Claire Lynch.
Yeah, Claire Lynch.
I didn't even know if we were allowed to mention that because it was so terrible.
I genuinely don't have any idea of this.
I don't even want to dignify it, but
no, we're gonna have to now because he's not heard of it. So basically, there was some.
Can I give the punchline as to who she really was, by the way?
Yeah, because I don't even remember everything about it.
You tell the angle as much as I can, and then I want to say who she was in real life.
Again, listeners, I don't really watch TNA, so it's just what I've read, so I might get some facts wrong. But basically, there was this big scandal, obviously all storyline wise, big scandal with AJ Styles, and Dixie Carter knew the secret or something, and Claire Lynch had... this woman called Claire Lynch turned up one day and was like, oh, AJ Styles has had my baby, or I'm having his baby, or something like that. And then he's like, oh no, there's more to it, but then that was it. And then I can't remember what the more to it was, but it turns out it weren't his kid, it was somebody else's kid. It was TNA bollocks is how we'll describe it. So everything now is going to be TNA bollocks. So do you want to tell him who Claire Lynch was?
Yeah, well, essentially the way it turned out was that she was in the angle, she was a drug addict who AJ and Dixie Carter had been helping. And it was so stupid, but the upshot of which was, it turned out that the actual actress was Olive Oil off of the Popeye ride at Universal Studios Florida. So loads of people were going having photos with Olive Oil, and then she'd wander into the Impact Zone. It was just guff. I think it won the the Gooker Award.
Yeah.
Off of WrestleCrap because it really was just terrible. But
he was still having good matches all the way through all that shit.
He survived that.
Yeah, he still had good matches, and then he survived it to the point that he had to go over to Japan to kind of resurrect his career. Because I don't remember WWE being interested in him. I don't remember him.
No, they weren't. I mean, they've always held an interest in him, but they've never held a serious interest in him because his philosophy was, I can make more money on the indies in TNA and I can have more time with my family.
Yeah, because basically around that time WWE weren't doing what they're doing now. So like he'd be on in his head, he'd get sent to Florida or the Deep
Probably
South.
been Ohio Valley, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
Deep South, Ohio Valley, something like that.
And so it'd be on the piss poor wages that they're on, rather than being on his TNA money that he was on. So like, I think that's what his philosophy was then. But now, because they're calling people up and he had more negotiation, he was like, "Give me that main event of money."
Yeah, I'm absolutely delighted to see AJ Styles in WWE. Much like yourself, I think at one point he was probably my favourite wrestler.
Yeah.
I think there's even, I might even go as far as to say he still is. He was in 2005 when I started watching TNA, because I think I've probably told you this before. I started watching TNA in 2005 because I had only just sort of started looking back at wrestling then. I'd not really got back into it until about that year, and then I was on a news website or something, and it said that this show was headlined by Raven against Rhino. Now, I know for a lot of people that'd be like, so what, who cares? But like, I always was quite keen on Raven and Rhino, even when they were in WWE, because I think the first show I watched all the way through was Backlash 2001, which was when they had that hardcore match where Rhino basically gored himself into the shopping cart.
Yeah, I remember that,
yeah, which they did again in the TNA match, and I thought it was really good. It was a fun hardcore brawl, but it confused me actually watching the show, which was TNA Unbreakable, that wasn't the main event, because that was the world title match. I was like, well, why is this not the main event? So I watched on, and it was AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, and Samoa Joe in the main event of Unbreakable for the X Division Championship, which I believe it's a 5-star match, like on the Wrestling Observer. I think it's a 5-star match on the Wrestling Observer. And it was just remarkable. Like, I couldn't believe that it was a completely different brand of wrestling for me. I never watched WCW when it was in the cruiserweights and stuff, but the X Division was a really big deal, and really entertaining in a way that I'd not seen before. That's what caused me to follow TNA. And I think for about a year and a half after that, TNA's stories and TNA's general sort of output was, I felt, a lot stronger than what WWE were doing. Like, especially the X Division storylines would be a lot more engaging, and it also helped that AJ Styles was sort of accessible to me, because he used to come to the 1PW shows at the Dome. I remember buying tickets, second row seats, for No Turning Back Night 1, which was AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, and Charlie Haas.
Charlie Haas.
So odd, wasn't it? But I was really excited about seeing that match, and from there I became a huge fan. Now, I haven't really followed him in Japan, but from what I gather, he's only gotten better, and it seems to transmit to, now that he's in WWE, like, he's doing WrestleMania was a misstep. That was disappointing for me.
Do you think?
Well, him losing to Jericho.
Yeah, but like,
No.
why does it? Everyone wins and loses, don't they? Like,
Yeah, but I think it's in my head, right? And I might be dead wrong on this, but Jericho, when sort of putting together that match or that feud or whatever else like that, he still had Fandango in his head.
Do you think because AJ Styles is like a million miles away from Fandango?
Of course he is, mate. But it's Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho thinks he's so much better than he is. You've heard him talk about himself. He's like, oh, well, when guys like you and me came up to like Stone Cold and The Rock and Triple H and other people that were higher than him. And this is Chris Jericho, who was probably my favourite wrestler in 2001 when I started watching. And I do think that's a big part of it. I bet when they brought him in, he was like, yeah, I'll do your food, but you've got to give me the win at WrestleMania. Because I think he's still itching about that Fandango loss at the one that we went to. And because otherwise, why would he have... Because I think we probably thought that he was going to go into a feud with Roman Reigns.
Yeah. Yeah, after he beat AJ Styles, I thought that's why they beat him. But I don't know, like, I was probably annoyed when it happened, but because I know where it's gone now, I'm not that bothered.
I'm a lot more calm about it since then. But it still does annoy me a little bit. And it's just little moments like that that make you think, well, it might not all go well. I hope he does, because I think I think he is fantastic, and he is one of my favourites. But it's only little things that sort of make you panic a little bit.
I don't know, like I'm not that panicked about him. I think he'll be all right. Like he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna beat Roman Reigns for the belt.
No.
I think that's kind of certain that they're not going to take the belt off Roman Reigns this soon.
Yeah, but like, he might win it at some point.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think maybe we should be doing this podcast after Payback, or at least the AJ Styles bit, because like, let's say he don't win the belt, it's where they go with him after that, because he's had a big feud with Jericho, lost that. He has a big feud with Roman Reigns, loses that. Where does he go after that? Does he have a big feud and win? Does he drop down to Intercontinental level and beat whoever's champion? I don't know. Like, it all depends on what they do with him after that, I think.
I mean, I think we've jumped a little far forward. We should go back to the Royal Rumble and talk about when he debuted. When he originally came out, they did the cool camera angle where they showed Roman Reigns' reaction to him rather than showing who it was, which kind of helped in a way. At the time, I was thinking, well, why would they not show his entrance? Because now we've seen entrance, it's pretty cool how it happened. But they got to show the shock on Roman Reigns' face, and then here comes AJ Styles, who got a huge reaction at the Royal Rumble. And then he lasted pretty long in the Royal Rumble match. Now, no one was under any assumptions he was going to win it, but it was a really good debut. And then from there, he went into the Chris Jericho feud, where it's been a little 50-50. He's looked really good, but like you said, the problems with the WrestleMania match with like how I feel about who won. Also, like my big problem with it wasn't. Well, I do think AJ Styles should have got the victory, especially considering he's moved on to a feud with Roman Reigns. But it was the killing of the Styles Clash, which was. They built it really well in the first few appearances until he finally hitting it, and now they seem to have just killed it off. And I can understand why, with the history of injuries, especially over the last few years, there's been a few high-profile like neck breaks from that move where people haven't taken the bump properly.
Yeah.
So I can understand why they want to move away from it, but they've kind of killed off an aspect of his character there.
Yeah,
something that people are excited for.
Yeah, you can probably pick Jericho up to do it, but can you pick Roman Reigns up to do it? Roman Reigns is a lot bigger.
In which case, just don't have him do it, though. I mean, I would be gutted if he hadn't done it, because, like, you know, it's what I know him for. But if you have him do it and then get people to kick out of it, that's worse.
I think he has hit it on bigger guys before.
He hit it on Curtis Axel. Now, I don't know how big he is, but I know he's not small.
Yeah. I don't know, I was trying to think if he hit it on Abyss before.
Yeah, he definitely did it at least once to Abyss.
Okay,
maybe 2 or 3 times.
Maybe it's not to do with bigger guys then.
No, I don't know if he did it properly to Abyss. Like, he might not have linked the arms like he usually
I'll tell you
does.
this, he did do it properly because he didn't break his neck. So he did it properly.
Yeah, that's probably Abyss doing it properly, not not taking it wrong.
Yeah.
To wrap that up then, AJ Styles, how do we think he's going to do? Dan?
I think he'll do well in the future. He's doing the feud now with Roman Reigns, and he's still getting great reactions. I know it helps with him being in they were in England recently, and they did a big angle that we're going to talk about soon. It seems like they're setting him up for something quite big that's also going to move him away from the title picture for a while, which will probably help establish him of how good a guy he is, how good in the ring he is, and hopefully bring a bit more of his character out too. So I can see good things for him, like at least for the next year or so.
Dan? No, you're Dan. He's Daryl.
Daryl. Hi, pleased to meet you. I think he's going to do all right. Like I said before about we need to see what he's doing after Payback. Like, if he doesn't win the belt at Payback, what are you going to do with him? Like, not saying they can't do anything with him, it's just that where do they see him? Because I think once we get past this feud with Roman Reigns, like, that's when he's going to find his level, I think. Because his excitement levels are high when he debuted, all the way up to WrestleMania. Then we've got a bit of WrestleMania hangover where he's got his big feud, and then does he become Dolph Ziggler?
He doesn't. I'll stop you right there. He doesn't become Dolph Ziggler.
That's what I mean at that level.
No one becomes Dolph Ziggler.
No?
Dolph Ziggler becomes you if you're Billy Gunn.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got the potential to do some really great things, and I hope he does. I'm absolutely nailed on he'll win the Intercontinental title at some point. It's just whether he gets a world title reign. And I think the very fact that they've put him into, a title feud straight off WrestleMania, it's a good chance. Next one to talk about, I think, in terms of star power is Nakamura. Now, Nakamura, obviously, Shinsuke Nakamura is in NXT rather than on the main roster. He, as I said before, he's had 2 matches. But he is, as you've mentioned to us already, Dan, probably the biggest star in terms of who came across from New Japan and what he meant to New Japan. I'm interested to get your thoughts on this because he's very different to what we've seen before. Now, without wanting to sort of retread ground that we've already sort of discussed, his history in New Japan and stuff, Dan, what do you see for Nakamura in WWE?
There's nothing but upward potential there with him. I mean, every time WWE does like a talent search type show, they always talk about the it factor. Anytime, like even Steve Austin's podcast, he talks about the it factor with people. Nakamura has it the moment he walks through the curtain. You can just see he's just oozing charisma. He's a complete package. He's got the whole thing with the Michael Jackson, Freddie Mercury influence on his character, and then he can kick the shit out of people. And those two aspects of his career is what's made him such a popular star. He's had 2 matches on television, like you mentioned so far. Both of those matches have been really great. The Sami Zayn match, which he started off with, was an absolutely unbelievable match. The second one with Ty Dillinger was a 10-minute TV match in front of what was kind of a dead crowd, but they woke up for him. And that, again, was a really great match. He seems to be able to work really well with people. One of the things I wanted to say about the reasoning behind him going to NXT, some people would question it. I think it's a really smart move because the NXT crowd is more hardcore base, and they know who Nakamura is, so the excitement's already there for him coming into NXT. And now, through his performances in NXT, if they continue like this, and there's already been a little promo with Finn Balor mentioning the fact that Nakamura's here and he's going to be gunning for my title soon. So they've obviously got good plans for him there. For him to be in NXT now, the hype can build up ready for him to move to the main roster, where I think if they allow him to be him, allow him to show his own character, like kind of, to compare him to this person is a bit weird, but Baron Corbin, how I mentioned, he started showing a bit more of his own personality. And if they do that on the main roster, then he can do something. Maybe not a
They're booked
big
differently
star
on the main roster, though.
Yeah, that's where the issue could come in. But Nakamura is a guy who he's kind of already a complete product. And if they bring him up onto the main roster, just the moment he walks out the curtain, they're going to be able to tell how much of a big deal this guy is.
I think stuff like Nakamura doing a 10-minute TV match is really interesting because that's a completely different thing to what he's been used to before.
Yeah.
And if he can sort of adapt to that sort of stuff, it'd be interesting to see where he goes. Daryl, I want to get your perspective on this because you're very much in the same boat as I am with Nakamura in terms of what you've seen before.
Like I'm saying, they're booked different on main roster, so with NXT he's relatively protected. When he gets up on the main roster, it's like, can he do it on a cold Tuesday night in Stoke?
In the Bet365.com stadium.
Yeah. But can you see my point though? Like,
yeah.
Like, because it's so, the main roster's so different in terms of like what's expected of you, what you've got to do. Like you were saying about doing a 10-minute match, but not only that, cutting a promo. Like, not everyone cuts a promo. I get that, but if you want to be a big star, they put a mic in your hand, or if you Brock Lesnar, you tell them, no, I'm having Paul Heyman talk for me. You can't. And I know he's English in his first language.
He's fluent though. It's something they haven't really. Yeah, he's fluent. JR was talking about him on a recent interview when he had Dave Meltzer on his show, and he talked about the fact that he was sat for about an hour talking with him. His English is very, very good. They're just not using it as much. And I think it's like in his.
They had Funaki, the designated Japanese wrestler.
It's hilarious, isn't it? It's always Funaki. It's like, we need somebody to translate, get Funaki out. Oh dear, it was Hitami and now it's Nakamura. If they sign anyone else, it'll
who did they have?
Funaki.
Did they have Kota Ibushi in crowd?
They did, but he was sat next to Funaki. He wasn't even there to translate. He was just sat next to Funaki. Bless him. Number one announcer.
Yeah.
Which he actually said at WrestleMania, which I thought was fantastic. Nakamura for me, it can go one of two ways. Either I think his NXT run will be brilliant, and I think that's actually really in his favour because when they're trying to sell network subscriptions, they've already got a lot of sort of these dream matches that they can do in NXT with Nakamura against Balor, Nakamura against Samoa Joe.
The Samoa Joe match they've been doing on house shows.
Yeah.
Which that's a match to be really excited for because Samoa Joe, one of his big matches before, like I think it was just around the time he was hitting it big in TNA, was the match with Kenta Kobashi, which is another 5-star match. He's kind of used to working that Japanese style, even though he never really made it over there. That's a match that I would be really, really excited for, and I'm guessing Daryl would be as well with his love of Samoa Joe.
I fucking love Samoa Joe.
You do bloody love Samoa Joe, and to be fair, I do as well. But like so the NXT run will be fine. If from there on, I guess I do agree with you. The main roster is a very different beast, and you need to book him differently. They will need to. But then one thing that does make me a little more, a little calmer about how that's going to end up is that from what we've gathered, he's on main event money in NXT already. He's on main roster money in NXT.
Yeah.
So that is money that it's a similar thing with AJ Styles, which I meant to bring up as well. It's money that they don't want to put down the drain. They don't want to spend that money on these people. Only like they're not going to bring them in just to screw around with it because they can't afford to do that anymore. There was a time when they could bring somebody in like Bill Goldberg, and if they wanted him to put a wig on and stand next to Goldust, they could do that. But they knew that they were going to draw with him, but they weren't really bothered about the way they booked him. Because
they just wanted to bury him.
Exactly, because they didn't like him. They wanted the effect of having Goldberg in, but they didn't want to deal with Goldberg like he should have been booked. But they don't have that luxury anymore. They can't just throw people in and go, oh, well, he failed. I told you he wasn't good enough. Because they need stars. And people like AJ Styles, and especially Nakamura, have that potential. And if they're going to be paying them that money, they're going to want to see him succeed.
Another big part of that as well is the WWE's moving into Japan with the network. They've just announced the house shows, which is going to be headlined by AJ Styles, Asuka, and Nakamura, and they sold out instantly.
Really?
They're going to use those three. Like Asuka's probably going to be staying down in NXT for a while, but those three are going to be used to go into that Japanese market because they're all marketable names there.
Makes sense. I think that's. Has anyone got anything else that they want to add on Nakamura?
Nope.
Yeah,
I think
we probably covered that. Then, like I say, I'm looking forward to seeing him develop. I want to bring us on to Anderson and Gallows. Then I think we can probably talk about them as a package rather than individually. Although obviously we've mentioned something about Luke Gallows already. They've so far been used on Raw. They've been used on Raw a couple of times, and they seem to be teasing a "are they or aren't they" angle with the Bullet Club and AJ Styles. I wanted to get you guys' opinion on where you think they can go. I especially want to hear from Daryl on this one because Daryl's got. Just go for it. I mean, you know what you want to talk about.
Yeah. Are they going to try and get Roman Reigns over with this? Right.
I didn't know that's where you were going to go with this, but go on.
Because here's my thing. Everyone thinks, Bullet Club, these are cool, right? Pretty much, yeah. Are we in agreement with that?
Agree,
yeah.
Yep.
Right. Roman Reigns, not a lot of people think he's cool. He used to be.
Did you know that he's not a good guy or a bad guy? He's the
guy, right?
Do you know he mentions that every single time?
And maybe it's not the Bullet Club. Maybe he's bulletproof with his bulletproof vest, and he's got the machine gun at his side. I'm just saying that might happen.
Oh.
And is the internet ready for that?
Is it the Roman Empire? Is it the bulletproof Roman Empire?
They're all good names.
Ooh.
But yeah, but like on a more serious note, I think that could happen because they had that thing where obviously they've come in, they beat up Usos. They've come in and they've attacked Roman Reigns, haven't they? So like that's the only flaw in it, that they've attacked Roman Reigns. Like, would they attack him if they were then going to team with him? But I don't know. There's loads of loopholes like that in wrestling.
Yeah, there's loads. Like for example, Undertaker beats Shane McMahon, so Shane McMahon gets control of Raw anyway, and Undertaker retires anyway.
Well, one of the really common fan theories I've seen regarding the Bullet Club attacking Roman Reigns, and then the whole thing with AJ Styles possibly being involved in them, is Finn Balor, which has been the big rumor that he's going to debut with them. The idea that's gone around is that maybe at Payback, AJ Styles loses because Finn Balor debuts with them and takes out AJ Styles, which gives Finn Balor a great feud to start off with the Bullet Club backing him up.
Yeah, I could see that, but then I don't know if that's like too insider, like for WWE, because like they're then bringing up NXT's top babyface, and I assume because he's doing that, he's now a heel.
Yeah.
And they're having a feud based on AJ Styles replacing him in Japan. Is that what it'd be? I don't know.
I guess that's kind of what it'd be, but then also the fact that Finn Balor, the entire time ever since it was announced that the New Japan 4 were coming over, has continually posted about this stuff.
Yeah, because he don't give a fuck.
Yeah, he doesn't give a fuck. But at the same time, you know that they kind of get watched over for stuff like that, and that's led credence to that fan theory quite a bit, because why is it that he's been allowed to continually post pictures of them, especially when, before they debuted, he's posting pictures saying, look who's here. Like, that's what's led for, like, a lot of stuff to that fan theory.
I think on that one, it could be more that they've really been trying to foster this rumour mongering, you know? Like,
yeah.
Especially, Gallows and Anderson were at WrestleMania and they were at the Raw after and weren't used on either one.
Well, they arrived during WrestleMania. They were flown in while WrestleMania was happening.
Exactly. So why are they doing that unless they're just sort of like winding people up? Because they went on the Raw after WrestleMania.
No.
So
everybody else was.
Everybody else was, yeah. Well, I mean,
if you, I'll help you with this, mate. So if you've only ever seen Luke Gallows as Festus, or as, was he Luke Gallows in Straight Edge Society? Whatever
he was Luke Gallows in Straight Edge.
Right, if you've only ever seen him there, you need to go on YouTube and put in Sex Ferguson. Just type that in. He's not going to play that character in WWE, of course he's not. But like, it's just mental. Like, he plays like this guy from 80s that were in territories and he's coming back, and it's just absolutely mental. And another thing I can recommend is there's a shoot interview I think done by High Spots, and it's called like Bullet Club Party or something like that, and it's Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, Tama Tonga, I think Bad Luck Filet's in there, loads of other people pop up in it, and it's just them for an hour just fucking about, and like it just gives you an idea what Bullet Club's about.
Yeah.
Well, one of the reasons those two work together so well is because they were really good friends out of the ring as well. It's like same with all the Bullet Club.
Well, yeah, if you believe what they said, is Luke Gallows sent him an email and started burying some wrestlers, and Carl Anderson emailed him back agreeing with him and said, "Oh, we hate the same people, we should be friends." Which I think that's why we're all friends, right?
That is pretty much why we're all friends. So in terms of them, I'll say as a unit first, and then you can sort of add comments about individually as well. Where do you see them going, Dan?
I'm not sure right now, because, well, they're involved in the main event feuds. That's a good sign. It'll be interesting to see what they do when they finally actually debut as a tag team, because we haven't seen that yet of them actually in the ring, though I believe that's upcoming soon.
Did you think they'll probably have a tag team match against the Usos?
I think that's going to happen on Raw, pretty much.
Really?
Yeah, next week. I think they've said they're going to be wrestling.
I would have kept it till payback. But anyway, go on.
Yeah, so get to see how they are in the ring in WWE, though. Luke Gallows got the experience. Carl Anderson hasn't, but he's got a ton of ring experience. He's a veteran, so I'm expecting good things from him. Like, to be involved in the main event feud straight off is a big deal. So they've obviously got big plans for them going forward.
Very true. Daryl?
I don't think they've got it for singles. Like, Luke Gallows definitely not.
No.
Really?
Yeah, I think he's a brilliant tag wrestler.
Yeah.
But anytime I've ever seen him in a singles match, and I'm not as much recently, to be honest, but like when I've seen him in a singles match, he's not been that good.
Are you saying that you didn't enjoy Imposter Kane against Kane?
No, I very much enjoyed that match for all the wrong reasons.
That was absolutely your sort of match, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
But no, like I've seen Carl Anderson like twice in a singles match maybe, and he's good, but he's shorter than Luke Gallows, and they'll love a tall one, don't they? So like, is that gonna stand him in good stead? I don't know, but like they'll both do all right. Like they're gonna win tag belts. That's a given, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
And obviously they're gonna be in a main event storyline, whether it's with AJ Styles, Finn Balor, or Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
I assume they'll be the heavies for one of them.
I think it's really good that to go back to their actual debut, when they sort of came on through the floor, they got such a heavy reaction, despite it being in LA and not like in a sort of smart crowd, and despite not necessarily being the most recognisable two guys. You know, they're essentially like from afar, they're just like two bald guys with beards. I think it bodes well for the future that despite the fact that they sort of debuted as theoretically two unidentifiable bald guys with beards in front of what was not traditionally a smart crowd, they got such a huge reaction, and that probably bodes well for the future of the angle as well. But I guess we're going to see where that goes. I would like to see actually there they are. Very quick last question. Yes or no answer. Dan, would you like to see the Bullet Club reunite in WWE?
Yeah.
Daryl?
Can we define what the Bullet Club is? Because
just
like
yes or no.
Do we want AJ
Yes or
Styles
no?
and Finn Balor? What?
Just yes or no.
Tamatonga is
Any
he coming
form
over?
of that. Well, we're not bringing in Bad Luck Fale, are we? But just yes or no.
No, because it might end up being like Bad Luck Fale.
Right. Okay. And on that thrilling bombshell.
Well, you're not giving us your opinion if you want them to.
Yeah, I want them to come. Yeah, fine.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, as Bullet Club, or do you want to have a new name?
Well, they have to have a new name because they don't own the trademark to Bullet
yeah,
Club.
but WWE do what they want, don't
Yeah,
they?
Yeah, I was
don't,
about to say,
don't they?
sorry to sound like Meltzer, but they don't. No,
No,
they
they
don't own that.
No, they don't. They don't own that. You can't do it.
So what do you want them to be called? That's a good feature. What shall we call this team?
Well, there you go then. We'll have to wait till next time. Ooh, cliffhanger.
I've got a good hook for next time.
Oh, go
I'm
on.
going to review that house show, aren't I?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Tune in for that one.
Tune in for Daryl's house show review and possible names for the Bullet Club.
Yeah.
Not Biz Cliz. On that.
I honestly
face-
think that this is probably the worst podcast we've produced so far.
I'm so glad that you said that on air. Cheers.
Yeah, I'm just letting everyone know.
Oh, brilliant.
Hashtag worst podcast ever.
You're a moron.
That's off a Bullet Club podcast, that.
Oh, great.
Yeah, we nicked their hashtag.
All right. Okay. I'll take that, Bullet Club.
Yeah.
We're like the Bullet Club in a way, except we.
Vic and Bob and another one. All usable.
Can I finish the show now? Right.
If you want.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. Stop you talking. Facebook.com/Royal Grumble. Really has been a grumble this week. Twitter.com/Royal Grumble Pod. You can find us on iTunes now. Find us on iTunes. Download it through iTunes. Download us through Podbean. Say goodbye, Daryl.
Goodbye, Daryl.
Say goodbye, Dan.
Bye.
All right. Take care. See you later.